I think the way that I think about it is there are really two kinds of companies now in the world. There are the disruptors, and then there are the disrupted. And increasingly, it's really crucial to be able to understand who the disruptors are, and then also the implications of what they're building so that you understand how to fix the disrupted. And the reason why I think that's important is that, you know, too often now we go to the lowest common denominator of this like dystopian world where the robots and the cyborgs all have jobs and the rest of us are kind of, you know, trundling from one random task to another. And it doesn't have to be that way. And so for me, what I'm trying to build is an organization that invests in some of these disruptive technologies, but channels them in productive ways, that creates new classes of jobs, that allows people to be trained in those jobs, that allows us to have an economically vibrant fabric, but at the same time learns from those companies that would otherwise be considered part of the disrupted class, and to help them, frankly, be more sustainable.
How's it going?
I would say that it's early days. You know, when I left Facebook in 2011 to start Social Capital, I actually drew myself a 50-year plan. And
50 years.
50 years. I was kind of, you know, I was in my mid-30s at the time, and I said, well, you know, knock on wood, with good health care and good health, I'll be productive into my 80s and 90s, hopefully.
Had you ever drawn yourself like a 15-year plan when you got out of college that took you through 30? Because
to be honest with
Facebook
you,
didn't exist.
No,
I don't see how you.
I didn't even have a 15-minute plan, but you know, I had the benefit of the ability to sort of really map out what I wanted to do with my life on my own terms, and that's the first time I'd really ever had that. You know, the way that I grew up, it was not that. I was very much chasing and living very day to day, particularly, frankly. And so I thought I just wanted to be around things that I thought were so secular in nature that when you look back on them decades from now, they would seem obvious. And then I wanted to be around those things. And so when I drew this plan up for myself, I said the first step is building the capability of creating a lot of these disruptive technologies, or identifying them, or being around them. And to me, that was probably going to take the first 15 years of this 50-year plan.
Just to be able to identify them?
Just to get good at it, to become repeatable at it. You know, it's like anything else, right? It's like if you take professional sports, like the people that are the best are the ones that practice at it and divorce the result from the practice and the act. Because the actual product of scoring happens in all kinds of random ways, but the act of purposeful practice and preparation is what gets you to that moment.
You say that like a partial owner of the Garden State Warriors.
Exactly. I do say that way. And
how is that? I mean, is that something that you knew before watching how Steph Curry and others practice, or something, you know, knowledge that has deepened by being up close to that organization?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's very much the latter. It's, you know, people want very crisp, clean narratives to describe really grandiose things that happen in the world, whether it's winning championships or whether it's starting and building great companies. And the actual facts underneath are much more complicated and nuanced. There's all kinds of tension, physical, emotional, mental, that go into creating something excellent. And so, you know, like I said, the first goal was be good at one thing, which is to identify and incubate and nurture disruptive technologies. What I would say is actually, you know, I gave myself a 15-year target, and I think that in the first 7 years, we've come to a place where I have high confidence that we know how to do that. And so now, in many ways, the next chapter starts. And in chapter 2...
Does that mean you did it in twice the time you expected?
In half the time, yeah. I thought it would be like a 15-year thing, and I think, you know, by year 7, I think we have a good handle on how to do that part of the business. And so in many ways now chapter 2 has started. And in chapter 2, what it's about is now being able to take those technologies and apply them constructively to change markets for the better, but at the same time, take all the knowledge that you learn from them and apply it to some of the legacy businesses and see if you can't improve those as well. And the reason why that's important is I think like true knowledge will come from understanding both sets of companies. Meaning, you know, sometimes people want to be very dismissive of how things have been done. And in other cases, people want to be very dismissive of new ways of doing things. Neither are the way that you have maximal impact and success. So what I mean by that is there are many things that, when I was at Facebook that we did that were pioneering. But frankly, there were many things that we did that were just copies of things that were tried, tested, and true. And so acknowledging the fact that the nuances of doing anything great will rely on both sets of information and knowledge. And so for me now what I'm trying to do is say, okay, on the one hand, can we build the next great chip for machine learning? Yes. But on the other hand, can we actually help a company that employs hundreds of thousands of people in the world how to leverage that technology to keep those employees fully employed? That's a great challenge. And I think the answer to those questions will allow us to both profit from being at the seat of creating these disruptive technologies, but frankly also making sure that they're allocated in humane and ethical ways.